Hello, my name is Ron, and this game that we are going to see today is being played between Joe's role Capablanca and Alexander Alekhine in the World Championship match in 1997. And to be honest, from a amateur player or not even an amateur player's perspective, from a rookie player's perspective, this was one of the most complicated games that I have ever analyzed myself. So I will try to decode as much as I can and try to figure out why some moves have been played. Some moves are really so esoteric that I really can't make any meaning out of that. It's a really epitome of positional chess, and anyone who likes playing positional chess will definitely benefit from watching this game maybe again and again. So let's start with queen's pawn opening and e5, c4, queen's gambit declined, and c3 and f6, bishop g5, and knight to d2. Sorry, knight to d7. So what that does is basically it stops this knight from getting pinned by this bishop. Now it could, instead of putting this knight, this bishop could have come over here or in the e7 square, but I think black had different plans, so he put the knight over here, and maybe later on pushing this knight to the b6 square. But right now it perhaps wanted to cover for this knight or protect this knight. And next move e3, it frees this in this move it frees uh, the movement of the queen. And if you see properly, it opens two diagonals, one for the queen to come over to a5 and for the bishop to reach over to b4, attacking the knight. So in f3, queen f5, knight comes this knight comes to knight to d2, perhaps with the intention of going over to b3 or to c4, protecting c4 or covering the e4 square. Now slowly this black is gathering his forces on the c3 square. Now it can definitely come with his next move, could be pushing this knight, the f knight, to this square if it was free, to the d5 square, attacking this c3 knight 3 times, and which is being protected by one piece. So it was devastating, and to stop that, the queen moves to the c2 square, the white queen moves to the c2 square, and right now at this stage, this knight the white knight on d2 can definitely reach capture the pawn on c4 and attack the queen at the same time. But in between move was this one, stopping that knight for the time being and taking that pawn as we figured out, and pushing that bishop away. The white bishop needed to be developed because the black position was already developed, and it was going to castle, or going to castle for in the next move, or perhaps so. And the white position needed to be developed immediately, so this move and b4 castling, and then bishop to d7 for black and b4 for white. Now this move, this pawn move, was to strengthen the c5 square. So in future, if the b pawn was moved forward, stopping this knight from going over to a5, and attack on this square was gathered. So there are two pawns, white pawns, protecting the c5 square. Bishop to f3. Now this pawn was getting pinned with this bishop, and this rook had to move. This rd1 to an almost open file. Same with black. rc1, trying to gather the rooks to almost open files to make them more active. Now at this stage, the computer says the good move would have been to, for white, would have been to e4, but white plays g3. I think this was because white wanted this bishop to move to g2 for as a safe haven, and in the previous move, like, this move is sort of a mystery to me. What was he thinking? I don't know whether it was an in-between move, or was he planning to push this pawn forward and get this bishop in this diagonal, putting it on g6 square. So okay, so g3 and n2 d5. It attacks this knight, and simple move at least now. This knight could have moved over here, attacking this pawn, and in overall this position, this knight could have been in much better position in e5 square, but white moves this knight to b2, hoping to move it to d3, and from there it covers the c5 square, e5 square, and perhaps later on it could come to e1 and reroute to like through this, since the bishop could have been pushed away by then, it could have been placed on the f3 square. It's a really far stretched imagination, really don't know what they were thinking. But anyway, queen to b8, again an in-between move, because I don't see the reason why would I place that queen on b8. It was like maybe he wanted to push this a pawn and get the queen here perhaps, but it was in direct line to the bishop. I don't think it was his plan. Alexander Alekhine sometimes baffled his opponents, it's said, so can't really say what he was thinking. Capablanca always had this had this thing, like it's said that he always played perfect chess, or at least almost perfect chess. This was like a study was done somewhere. I read this in an article that his moves correlated with a computer's moves to high percentage. So, and I am a fan of Capablanca. So, bishop to G5, and Queen B8 B7. Again, uh, what was he thinking? Did he try to, was he trying to reach, come over to the A file and gather this pawn, or put pressure on, or maybe he wanted to push this E pawn, then come over to, I mean, the queen, the action of the queen is quite confusing over here. But anyway, I think he wanted to, yeah, like, move the queen around, and to see where he could place it, and to find out the ideas of his opponent. I think that was his game at this stage. Pushing the knight, black knight away, and queen into c3. Moving the queen around again, and h4. The bishop cannot move over here to f6, because this pawn would then move forward, capturing the bishop. So white knight moves to e5, attacking this square, and also, but this square was already covered by two pieces, the bishop and the rook, and it was trying to trap the bishop by reaching over to g4. So this was just a preemptive move. This black, that black gives over here g6, and to block the movement of the black bishop, white pushes e5. Black pushes the knight away, and knight gets back to e3. Now this pawn was, if this pawn was blocking, this pawn was blocking this rook from taking the queen, so this pawn was moved forward so that this file could be cleared, and also this was restricting the position, the movement of the white bishop. The white bishop could easily now reach over to the a4 square or the b5 square, which was a very strong square for black. And here, if he would have taken, if white would have captured this pawn, it would have been recaptured by either the queen or the rook. I believe it would have been with the rook attacking the queen, and also attacking this pawn. So white moves d5. Sorry, where were we? Sorry. Okay, so white gives d5, Black captures pawn, white recaptures, threatening queen. At this position, the computer suggests rook to b7. Now, Capablanca plays another good move. It was knight to f6, checking the king and also targeting the white square bishop, and it has to be recaptured by this black bishop, so exchanging a knight with a bishop. Okay, just exchanging pieces over here, and the computer suggests, okay, fine, threatening the queen with e1 move, but computer suggests taking of this, exchanging of this bishop. But Capablanca plays rook e1, and black moves the queen away. At this stage, I mean, it's safe to assume that this is one of the most complicated endgames that I've ever seen. It's really hard for me to analyze in detail, and there are so many tactics over here that it's like it's possible for me to miss one of them. Pardon me for that. The black pushes this pawn forward. I would have to say that this pawn is a dangerous pawn, and it's being pushed ruthlessly. So white gives this the a4. White gives a4. Now this move I couldn't figure out, because the computer suggests that black could have easily taken this move. Then why? Why? Well, it was black could have taken this away, but white could have recaptured by pushing the knight to a3, recapturing the a pawn. So perhaps that was the idea. So a5, and bishop to g2. Bishop is exchanged. Black checking the king, white king, and black targeting the f2 square, threatening the black queen with rook f3, and protecting this, double protecting for this f6 pawn. And the black queen, so I think you can see over here that computer suggests that the black position is stronger. I mean, you couldn't probably see in the screen, but the stock fish 9 plus version says that the score is, and the value is minus 1.4 for the black position. So apparently black is in a stronger position, and I have to say that with this move, with the black queen to b4, the queen would have to be exchanged, or this white pawn falls. And if the queen is exchanged, this black pawn, black a pawn, would move forward over here, and then there are two passed pawns, and on the fourth rank for blacks, so it would be quite devastating for white. Now white gives f4, targeting this c4 pawn, and black just moves his queen, king from the g8 position to h7, and at this stage white moves the rook to d4. What was he thinking? Perhaps he was thinking of pushing this pushing this rook to the 5th rank, targeting this square, targeting the a pawn. So the a pawn falls, and yeah, maybe he was also trying to push this rook to d7 square, and d7 square perhaps. So that is the square is being covered by moving the black queen to c6, and the black pawn on a file falls, and this pawn, this passed pawn, is quite dangerous at this moment. Again targeting the f7 pawn, queen covers for that, black queen, and black queen targets the rook on d4, and covered by, protected by the queen on white queen on d7. Again the black queen comes back to c5. At this stage this rook cannot be put to, this rook had to move because it cannot come to the d2 square to protect for the next move, so it had to move to get at this pawn. And black queen takes f2, check, f1, check, queen f2, check, and white king moves away. This was can we suggest giving another check to the white queen king, but black, that is Alekhine, thought of protecting this weak square on f7, which could have been targeted with by moving this rook to e7, and this pawn would fall then. So he protected for that, and white queen comes to c6. Again a check from the black side, the king moves, again a check, again check. The black, I mean to stop the game from being a draw, different moves played, king to h7, and king comes, the white queen comes on c4. So this was an aim to exchange the queens, because if it was done so, then the white rook would come to the c4 place, c4 square, and this pawn would fall. So it was probably going towards a draw. White was trying for a draw, but black won't give up. So again a check, and trying for a checkmate here with the black queen going over to the g1 square. Next move could have been queen to h1, but the white rook stops that. Again, this was a very good move at 58, 8th move. So it checks the queen and also pins the rook with the queen. I mean, pins the queen with the rook. This white pawn on f6 was falling anyway, so it was taken, and the c3 pawn was still covered, and white desperately tries to push the white pawn on the a file forward. Black plans to move the exchange the rooks by pushing the black rook to the d2 square, whereby this white rook would have to exchange the rook, and this black pawn on the c file would transfer to the d file. Again pinning the rook with the queen, and there you are, protecting the white rook with the queen. Now the rooks are being exchanged, and at this stage it was already lost. The black pawn, d pawn, gets promoted to the queen, and the white pawn gets promoted to queen, and here black gives queen to g1, forcing the king to h3 square, because from there it cannot it cannot escape, because this white square, the g4 square, is being already watched by this black pawn on h5. So the king was sort of trapped, and it was checkmate over here. It was 1 second. This could have been placed, and it's not is it a checkmate? The computer suggests it's a checkmate. So this, how is it a checkmate? It has to. Okay, so yeah, it's a checkmate, because if the white queen reaches over to the g2 square, this queen, if black queen on f1 square could go over to f5 square, and thus checking the queen once again. The only move that could stop that is to push this pawn forward, and this pawn, the h5 pawn, can then recapture that. So it was a lost position. Yep, it was lost position. So it was a complex game, and for a rookie player like me, it was definitely a complicated game, but I definitely enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you.